Welcome to ReThink You, bringing you ideas, inspiration, and motivation to start living the life you were created to live. Here is your host, author, trainer, speaker, and coach, and founder of ReThink You, Kim Levings.
Well, hi, and welcome back. This is Kim Levings again with your ReThink You podcast. And I'm excited today to introduce you to Fernanda Torres, who is an advanced practice registered nurse. And more importantly, she has created the Wellness Wednesday Inspiration live on Facebook. And Fernanda is the founder and host of Positive Blueprints podcast. You could find her at positiveblueprints.com. And I wanted to mention also in Fernanda's intro that something I love that you said is that you also teach people that what they eat is equally important to their health as what is eating at them in terms of their thoughts and emotions. I love that, Fernanda. So welcome and tell us some of your story.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm super excited to be here. Very thankful for the opportunity and the invite. And yes, my name is Fernanda Torres. And my story began actually some time ago when I was driving to work, and I had a realization on that day that I had been feeling anxious and depressed for about 4 to 5 years coming up to that moment, that day of me kind of just looking at my life up to that point and realizing that every single day I had been overcome with emotions of anxiety, depression, ranging from heart palpitations and racing thoughts. And my hands would be shaking and sweating.
Wow.
And I couldn't focus and concentrate. And I would go and see patients on my practice. And many times I couldn't even focus on what the patient was saying because I was so overly concerned with my own thoughts and my own emotions. So that day I was driving to work and I was working at a clinic, and I was thinking, how hypocritical am I that I'm going to supposedly help patients feel better about their health when I don't even know how to help myself. And everything started after a series of personal events in my life. And I just kind of fell on a big hole of negative emotions and I couldn't get myself out of it. So what did I do? Being in the medical field, I went to doctors, colleagues, and I started taking medications and I started going to counseling. And then I would dance and I would talk to my family and friends about the way that I was feeling. But I wasn't feeling any better. I was taking my medications every single day. And then I started taking medications for the side effect of the medications. And I just wasn't feeling better. So that day in the car, I asked out loud, what can I do to feel better? Please help me. And I was just kind of screaming in desperation. And on my way back from work on that day, a video came out on my phone on YouTube. And the video was called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And that video started my whole transformation, started me in the journey of self-discovery and the science of epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology and basically everything that I'm teaching about today.
Wow, that is fabulous. Don't you just love it when we get those aha moments? And much of what you said it resonates with my journey, but this is not so much about me. And I agree that there is so much more to health than, as you said, taking a tablet to counteract the effect of the other tablet and just sort of going down that spiral.
Exactly.
So tell me, what are you focused on now, Fernanda? What's your current big picture vision and goal? What are you up to now?
So Kim, after that day, I started immersing myself in anything that I could about understanding my mind, because I understood that my mind was making me sick. Not what happened, not the event, but my mind was making me sick. So how can I actually master my mind so I can master my life? And I started immersing myself in books and seminars and videos and everything that I could get, seminars and everything, anything that I can get my hands on or myself on to understand more about my mind. So right now, my main focus is understanding how we can reprogram our mind, how we can change our thoughts. By changing our thoughts, we change our feelings. And by changing our feelings, we change our results. And how every single thought that we have has an equal emotion attached to it. And every emotion sends a chemical signal to our cells, every single cell in our bodies. And we can upregulate or downregulate the genes to cause disease. So over time, all of these stresses that we're living in day to day, being stuck in traffic, not liking our coworkers, our kids doing things that we don't like, or maybe those fights with our spouses or anything over time equal to heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, high blood pressure, and more. So it's understanding the science of belief and emotions and thoughts directly to our health.
Excellent. And how are you translating that in terms of your podcast and the wellness? How are you reaching people with that powerful message?
So I speak all over the world, anywhere that I'm invited. And thank you once again for this opportunity. And then I have the podcast and I have the Wellness Wednesday live on Facebook. So the intent with the podcast and the live on Facebook is to reach more people, to understand the power, the immense power that we have over our own health, over determining our own future when it comes to our health. A lot of times we tend to believe that we are victims of our past medical history or our family history. So if our parents had a condition, we're going to develop that condition. But that's not the case. The more we understand the mind and the more we understand how our thoughts influence literally our health, then we can alter that reality for us, and we can do that starting today.
Fabulous. That is such a joke. I'm just so excited. There's so many things I want to ask you. And I'm also sort of thinking through the minds of my listeners. And so many times in our lives, we can't see the wood for the trees. As you just described earlier, that here you were a healthcare worker and you yourself couldn't get yourself right. Tell us about perhaps some other times since then, once you've started this work that you're doing, times that you've gotten off track or you've caught yourself going back down that path of incorrect thinking. How do you sort of turn yourself around? And I know as a coach and speaker around mindset myself, that I many times have to take my own medicine and get myself right. Mm-hmm. So tell us about some examples of when that's happened for you and how you've turned that around.
Absolutely. So it's very easy to get caught up with our thoughts and our emotions, right? We have, some people say 50,000, some other people say 75,000 thoughts every single day. And over 85% of our thoughts are negative. So if we're not paying attention to our thoughts, if we're not being aware of the thoughts, it's very easy to get caught up on those negative thoughts and negative emotions and then go down the same path over and over again. So if anytime basically that I'm not paying attention, that has happened, right? So I have to stay vigilant. I have to stay literally just standing at the doorway of the thoughts to make sure that no undesired thought enters my mind. So just to give you a few examples, recently I received a notification from my workplace where I was seeing patients that I was no longer going to be employed. And actually my last day is tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So at the time, of course, when I received the notice about 3 months ago, it was a very difficult situation for me to navigate. So what happens, I start getting stressed about what am I going to do next and how am I going to pay my bills and how am I going to make it? And then I have to remind myself, I have to bring myself back and say, if I'm thinking about the future, I'm not living in the present. And in the present time, it's the only opportunity that I have to make a difference for the future. But stressing over the future is not going to cause any changes, right? So I bring myself back and then I start thinking, what can I do today that will make a difference in 3 months from now? Instead of thinking, well, what's going to happen in 3 months and what if, which is not going to solve any issues. Now, as that happened, we came into mutual agreement, my husband and I, to divorce. So everything was happening at the same time, right? I'm losing my job, I'm losing my marriage. Of course, my kids are going through tremendous changes. We recently moved from Chicago to Arizona. So all of these things are happening. And I have a thing also that I constantly remind myself, life is happening for me, not to me. So every time I get caught up into these negative emotional cycles, I remind myself, okay, what's the best thing that I can do right now in the present? Because if I'm literally depressed, I know that I'm living in the past, but if I'm anxious, I'm living in the future. So the present moment is the only moment that we can make a difference.
Yes.
And how can we make a difference? We have to make a difference by controlling our thoughts. If we allow negative thoughts, then we're going to have negative emotions that are going to lead to negative results in the future. So it's always reminding myself that I need to stay present and I need to stay positive and be mindful of every thought as much as I can, of every thought that comes into my mind. And when a negative emotion happens, when I get sad or when I get anxious, it's getting myself out of that state as soon as I can, as soon as I realize it. So instead of staying in that state for 5 years like I did before, I can now bounce back in a matter of 2 hours or less.
Right. Right. And that's powerful. I want to draw attention to that because I know some listeners don't catch, or they hear it, but they're like, I should have written that down. You said about staying in the present. So when we're stressed about the future, did you say it's anxiety? We're focused on the future. And what is the emotion when we're stuck on the past?
That is depression.
Depression, right. Mm-hmm. So that depression is that regret that's often internalized. And then it takes you further and further down, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, depression does. Mm-hmm. It kind of lives up to its own reputation if you allow it the airtime. So I think that's just wonderful to stay present in what can I do? What can I do today? So tell me, and obviously you can't talk about specific patients because of privacy, but what has been the trend? Many people will say, well, I've got this condition or that condition, and that's just my fate. That's what I'm living with. And if you say to them, you have the mental power to reverse that, they say, oh yeah, right. That's the way I've always been. So how do you actually help patients who are kind of stuck in their reality? And I'm going to ask you specifically in the pain management field, which is a field that I'm sort of interested in and work that I've done in that field, saying people who are stuck in the cycle that are in consistent chronic pain and don't know any better. What sort of advice would you give them, or any chronic condition? Sorry.
That is a very powerful question, Kim, and thank you. I have been the known provider that when a patient comes in to see me, they come out with a prescription, quote unquote, for a book. Read this book, it'll change your life. Because many times that is the solution, that it's going to be the permanent solution and not just the pill. The pill only gives you temporary relief, or it may basically control the symptoms for some time, but it's not curing anything. So if we want to get to the cure, if we want to get to the root of the problem so we can cure it, then we have to get to what's at the root. And the root is every single decision that we've made based on our thoughts. And the thoughts are basically, we're being controlled by our subconscious mind. So every single time that we know that we need to eat better, for example, I know that I need to eat better, but then I'm not making that choice to eat better. That's because we're being literally programmed and driven and controlled by our subconscious mind. And those thoughts that we have literally programmed in our subconscious mind guide us in every decision that we make. Right. So if we change our focus, if we change our thoughts, if we change our emotions, then we're going to be able to get to that root of the problem, eliminate those thoughts that are not serving us any purpose, that are keeping us stuck, that are keeping us sick. Literally, our thoughts are making us sick. And then reprogram ourselves with different thoughts that are going to give us different results. And of course, it takes time. And that's the main thing that a lot of people don't want and don't want to hear, right? It takes maybe 20 years of decisions to become a diabetic. But then once they are, or to cause something that maybe spinal stenosis or something, it takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of people want that immediate relief. Give me a pill that is going to make me feel better, and then I want to just walk out. And it's basically a matter of helping the patients understand that, yes, I can give you a pill and you can get better, but it's a temporary relief. If you want permanent relief of your symptoms, if you want to eliminate your condition, if you want to reverse everything, then you gotta work at the root of the problem. Otherwise, nothing's gonna change.
Right.
And also, what we focus on expands. So I always tell my patients, if you have chronic back pain, instead of saying, oh, here we go again, my back is killing me, how are we communicating? How are we talking about our body and ourselves? Oh, my pain gets worse every single day, and my pain is awful, and I'm dying of pain. My pain is killing me. So all of these things that I literally get with my patients every single day and how we're talking, it's expanding, it's reproducing. So when we say my pain is killing me, the pain is killing you. Of course it is, because your body listens to everything that you say. Right. So it's changing that conversation and saying my body improves every single day. My body gets healthier every single day. And I do these affirmations every single day, Kim. Right. My affirmations in the morning start with, my body gets healthier, my cells rejuvenate every single day, because my body is listening to every single command that I'm giving it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's changing that conversation. It takes time, but it will get better over time, of course, over time, if we are persistent, and if by doing repetition, right? By doing it every single day.
Right. That's so powerful. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm so excited because I'm trying to hold back from doing all the talking, because you're saying such wonderful things and I'm agreeing with you. So at another time, we'll have to have a deeper conversation about some of these issues. So I'm sure people got a lot from that. You know, I think I've also recommended and read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if you've heard of that. I can't think of the name of the author offhand, but somebody who's a veteran and a wounded warrior told me about that book. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, it's so true. So it resonates with what you're saying. And I think people don't recognize the power of the mind over the body. And as you said, it's literally listening to you, mm-hmm. and it'll give you more of whatever you think about. So exactly. Some powerful, powerful lessons there. What other lessons would you say, you know, giving to a listener who's perhaps just randomly stumbled on this and never really thought about this connection between body and mind? Any other life lessons and pearls of wisdom that you're willing to share with us, just to make people hungry to come and listen to your show?
I think one of the most powerful things that I have learned is that because it happens to me all the time, patients coming to me with fear over their health. I'm concerned, for example, right now with the pandemic, I'm concerned about getting COVID. Or my mom had cancer at the age of 45, so I'm concerned, or I have fear that I'm going to get cancer at the age of 45. So it's those thoughts. Basically, whatever you think right now, you're sending it out into the universe. You're sending that signal into the universe. So we need to start communicating with our bodies before anything else happens, right? Yes. So it's sending that communication right now that you are healthy, that you don't have to develop the same conditions. Because if you think about it, your mom might have developed that breast cancer, or your dad might have developed that diabetes because of the thoughts that they were thinking, that was literally sending those emotions into their body, that was causing specific actions in their lives. Right. So if you're if you're having different thoughts, which are leading to different emotions, which are leading to different actions, you don't have to be stuck with the same results than those of your parents or your grandparents. So it's understanding the power of you being able to create your own reality, and you being able to start doing that today. And it can happen in real time. Let me tell you a little bit about a study that I read, and I thought it was so interesting. The study consisted of, and it was done by HeartMath, and it consisted of 28 different human DNA placenta samples. And the human DNA placenta samples were vialed and were given to different researchers. And the researcher's job was to feel a certain emotion. So they would feel happy or joy or harmony, and they would test the DNA from the vial, and the DNA showed that it would elongate and relax when the researchers were feeling these emotions. But then when the researchers were feeling emotions of sadness or anger or jealousy or fear, the DNA would contract, and many times it would turn off. Now, what I tell my patients is, this wasn't their DNA. It was somebody else's DNA, human placenta DNA, and it was outside of their bodies. Now imagine what you're doing to your DNA every single time you have an elevated emotion or a negative emotion. So if we are living with emotions, high emotions, emotions of happiness, emotions of calmness, emotions of joy, emotions of creativity, emotions that are high in the vibrational scale, our DNA, and I literally picture it, right? My DNA is like relaxing or like having fun and enjoying life, because that's what happens, right? But at the same time, every time we're living in emotions of why did the car cut in front of me? Or, why is this lady looking at me that way? Or I hate my coworker, or I have a coffee stain on my shirt. Any of those emotions that are stressing us out are literally killing us little by little. So understanding that those little things that really don't matter on a bigger picture, on a bigger scale, are the ones that are making the biggest difference in our chemistry every single day.
Oh, it's so powerful. And I hope people are loving this as much as I am, because it is so true. And it's so good to know that that study was done. And I know that there is more and more information available to us in recent years because of the advance of neuroplasticity and brain science, that we have more data available to us. And what you just said is so true, that you can, if you concentrate and you make an effort to do it, you can actually get in touch with your body to that degree that your body speaks to you. So I know that I've had moments of that. And as I say, I'll share it with you in other conversations, where I'm sort of totally in touch with my body at times. But Fernanda, just in this journey, where are you headed? Where do you want to be this time next year? I mean, what's the big goal? What's urging you on every day? I'm sure there are thousands of people that can be helped by what you're doing.
I want to be bringing this message of health everywhere, especially with my ability of being bilingual. I want to bring this message also to the Hispanic community. A lot of times our Hispanic communities are very molded from birth, in a sense of whatever the doctor says, it's what you do, and you don't question authority. And we're born and we're literally raised with these thoughts, right? And with this behavior. So when we go to the provider, if the provider tells us you're gonna die in 6 months because you have cancer all over, it's a death sentence for us. Why? Because we believe it. And the minute that we believe that, we're sending that signal to our body, and our body says, oh, I gotta die in 6 months. Okay. And you get your wish fulfilled, right? Or if the doctor tells you you have a chronic condition and you're gonna have to take medication for the rest of your life, then that's what ends up happening. So it's raising that awareness that you are in control, not your medical provider, not the pharmacist, not the physical therapist, not your spouse or your significant other. It's you. You are in control of your health, because you are the only one that can control your thoughts. Nobody can go into your head and control the thoughts for you or think different thoughts than you are, right? Only you can do that. So if you can, helping people understand this, and especially for the Hispanic community, I think would be huge, a huge step into helping us live healthier, be healthier, and moreover, taking control of our lives, taking control of our health. Because right now we're living, and not just Hispanics, a lot of people are living in a way that they're giving their control of their health away to their doctors. And so when we give control away, then we now are powerless to change our destiny. So taking back control and literally making sure that you are the one creating your future for your health and your life and everything else that you want to do in your life. So I want to be everywhere, but I do have a desire, and that's going to be my focus in 2021, of bringing this message of wellness to the Hispanic community in Spanish, to make sure that we can start making that shift, because we are a little bit more behind than probably other ethnicities at this point.
Right. It's interesting that some of the health-related issues that are attached to certain ethnic groups do tend to, as you say, become that generational curse. So I think it's fabulous that you're going to sort of help rethink that, excuse the pun. So what would you say about your own gifts and talents that have come to the surface that you never realized you had until you stepped out into this journey, Fernanda? How have you as a person developed as you help others?
Kim, if you would have known me a year ago, I could not speak in public. I was shy. I would hide behind my desk. I would hide from the camera. It was like, film anybody, but don't film me. I didn't feel comfortable. And some of it was my self-limiting beliefs. I'm not enough. Nobody wants to listen to me. What I have to say doesn't matter. There's people that are more knowledgeable than me. Who's going to want to listen to me? And maybe they're not going to understand what I'm saying because of my accent. And all of these things kept me hidden. And so I wanted to make a difference, but I was limiting my difference to that one-on-one interaction with my patients in clinic. And everything else, even in the clinic, if he wants to give a presentation in front of the other providers about something that I was doing different, that was working for me, I was like, oh, no, I can tell somebody else and they can do the presentation for me. I would hide. When this kind of hunger, quote unquote, developed in me, and the knowledge that I was acquiring and the difference that it was making in my life, moreover, the difference that it was making in my life, how I was able to overcome this depression and this anxiety that kept me stuck for 5 years in a matter of months by changing my thoughts. I'm like, I have to share this. I would be selfish if I don't. So I had to overcome this fear of getting in front of the camera, talking to other people, being seen, being noticed.
Yes.
And now, as of course time goes by and I get more and more comfortable and I started speaking in different platforms and being invited in different summits and doing different events, then of course my desire just grows and grows and grows. It makes me become better at communicating this message. It makes me feel more comfortable communicating it. And of course, it's something that I'm living myself. You know, I live my life out of all of these principles. So I live it and I believe it, of course, and then I of course teach it.
Wonderful. Absolutely fabulous. And, you know, going back to the previous point that you made about people believing their doctors, I just suddenly thought of a quote from Les Brown, who I know is our mutual mentor. But I love the way Les, in one of his talks years ago, said, you know, the doctor told me I had a terminal disease. He said, no, what's terminal is your level of ability to help me. And he said they gave him 5 years and he decided to take 25 or whatever it was. And the way he said it was, no, I don't have to accept that. So I think that's an important point that I hope the listeners caught, that we don't have to always accept that as our reality. We have the power over our own health and our own future. Wow, just great stuff. Yeah. So Fernanda, what else would you like to share with us? I mean, you've just got a wealth of knowledge. I know that. And I think you're holding back. So I'm like, well, give it to us. What other life lessons would you love the listeners to get from you today and, you know, and make a difference in their lives? What's the next step you'd like to see them take?
So the other thing that I want to share is the power of relationships for our health. And I haven't talked about these relationships in this podcast yet, but everybody that we surround ourselves with have an impact in our life. So whether that's a positive impact or a negative impact. And from the quality of the relationships and the quantity of the relationships, but more so the quality of the relationships, directly impact our health. And there's been many studies even done by Harvard University that have shown that if we have low quality relationships in our lives, we are more prone to develop heart attacks and strokes and cardiovascular disease and sudden cardiac arrest and some other conditions. And some of these studies have shown that the risk is 15 times greater than the average risk, which equals to smoking about 15 cigarettes every day and being physically inactive. So if we look at that and if we think about it, then we gotta take accountability for those relationships that we have around us. And we have to start taking inventory, right? Who is serving you a good purpose? Who is a person that gives you good quality of a relationship in your life and who's not? Because many times we have people in our lives that simply because we've known them for 20 years or 15 years, or because they helped us once, we keep them around. But every time we have a conversation with them or we communicate with them, they bring us down. They make us feel guilty, or they reinforce some of the negative beliefs that we have of ourselves already. So it's getting around people that are going to help motivate you to do better, that are going to help you keep on that path of being your best self every single day. Right. Or at the very least, people that are, every time that you hang out with them, they get you on that high state of vibration. They get you happy. They make you smile. They make you have such a good time. So it's keeping that accountability and making inventory. And that's one of the first things that I did, right? When I started learning the power of relationships, I literally started saying, okay, you're out. And that's partly why, to be honest, that's partly why I'm undergoing a divorce right now. Mm-hmm. The most important relationships that we have as adults is the relationship with our significant other. And this significant other can literally, having a bad relationship with your significant other can kill you down the line.
Right.
It literally can. So we gotta take inventory, and we don't do it for them. We do it for us, because we don't want to be in that situation in 10 years when we are dealing with stroke or a heart attack or something worse, because of those low quality relationships that we decided to keep at that moment when we could have made a different decision. So that's one. And the other thing is, like you said at the beginning, right? What are you eating and what's eating at you? Right? So what are you eating? What you're eating, of course, has a direct impact on your health. And we all know this, right? You gotta eat healthy, you gotta eat healthy, you gotta eat your fruits and your veggies and everything. We're being told that over and over. What most people don't know and fail to realize is that our gut is directly connected to our brain. So if we're eating low quality food, if we're eating processed foods and foods that are unhealthy for us, then that directly impacts our ability to think clearly. So if we are not eating healthy foods, then we're not literally thinking clear thoughts. And that lack of clarity affects us in every single area of our lives, aside from affecting us physically, right? So what are you eating? And then what's eating at you? And that's the thoughts and the emotions and everything that I was talking to everybody at the beginning. So when we lay down at night, all of us, I want you to start paying attention to everything that goes on in your mind as soon as you put your head in the pillow at night. And you will see that there is a little voice that is inside your head, and it's always talking to you. It talks to you day and night. But especially when you're getting ready for bed, I want you to pay attention. Since you don't have anything else to do for the 5 minutes before you fall asleep, just pay attention. What is that voice telling you? And what you're going to realize is that it's going to tell you, did you turn on the light? Are you sure that you don't have anything else to do? You forgot to send that email, and it's going to start talking to you about different things, right? So it's going to keep you worried or concerned or on when it's a moment of being off, when being relaxed, when being within yourself and basically falling asleep. And the last few minutes before you fall asleep are very important, because whatever you have in your mind during those last few minutes, it's basically what marinates for the rest of the night. So if you realize what you're thinking, make sure that you actively change those thoughts and start thinking about the life that you do want. Start thinking about your dream life, your dream vacation, your dream house, or how you want the relationship with your kids to be, or with your significant other, or if you don't have a significant other, how would you like it to be, or whatever, whatever. Think about your future and go to sleep with that image in your mind so it marinates all night long. And when you wake up in the morning, you automatically wake up in a better state, in a better mood. So those little things are tips literally that I do every single day and have helped me transform my life.
Anything else you'd like to share with us, Fernanda, about health and well-being? And just, this has been just so great. I know the listeners got a lot from this. Any final thoughts as we close?
The final thought that I would say is listen to your body, listen to yourself, and spend time getting to know yourself. We literally spend so much time out of every single day just living for others or doing things for others, or literally responding to all of the demands that come to us with our five senses. What's that smell? What's that sound? What am I touching? What am I listening to? What am I looking at? So turn off your senses, even if it's for 5 minutes every single day, 5 minutes, even if it's 2 minutes every single day. Everybody has 2 minutes for their health, right? Because if we don't make time for our wellness right now, we're going to have to make time for our illness later. There is no other way around it, right? So if you are willing to invest 2 minutes, 5 minutes of your day today and start shutting off everything completely during the day, put an alarm in your phone at 7 a.m. in the morning or 5 p.m. at night. I don't care what time. And make sure that during those 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever you decide, turn off everything that gives you any type of sensory signal to you. And focus on you. Focus on your breath. Focus on your thoughts. Focus on how you're doing. How are you feeling? What are you thinking today? How is your body doing today? Because if you connect with yourself, if you start connecting with your body, then you're going to get to a place where you know yourself better. And when you know yourself better, you can communicate with yourself better. And when something's wrong, you can catch it early and you can work on it early instead of spending so many years going through the same path. And then at the end, realizing, oh my God, now I have a chronic medical condition and now I have to deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. So tune into yourself, get to know yourself. I meditate every single day. I meditate twice a day, morning and night. And this is a way for me to get closer to myself, to my true essence, to literally communicate with my spirit, right? And letting my spirit know I'm connected and I'm not my body. My body responds to me. I don't respond to my body. Right. And I can tell my body what to do. And this is where we were talking about. My body rejuvenates every single day. My body becomes healthier. My spine is healthy. My bones are strong and healthy. You tell your body what to do and not otherwise. So when you're being controlled by your chronic pain or when you're being controlled by your disease from your body, then you're being controlled by your body. And that's not the way it is. So the more you know yourself, the more that you're connected with yourself, even if it's 2 minutes every single day, to raise your energy, you're going to be sending those happy signals to your cells, and your cells are going to be literally relaxing and they're going to be happy. and your whole body, your whole chemistry, your whole being, it's going to benefit from it.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Fernanda. I know that people are going to love listening to your story, and we'll make sure that we have your website and information about your podcasts in the show notes on our website. And I wish you all the best, because I know that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that need to hear your message. So here's to a beautiful future. Thank you for spending time with us on the ReThink You podcast today.
Thank you so much, Kim. And one more thing before we go, I do have a free resource. It's a book that talks about the emotions and the thoughts and goal setting and health.
Great.
And how our health gets affected by the thoughts, basically everything that we talk about, but a little bit more in depth. So if anybody's interested, it is available at fernandacastaneda.com, and you can probably put it in the information on the podcast. For all the viewers, whoever wants to download the book, it's a great resource.
Wonderful. I'll make sure that we put that link on the podcast information. So listeners out, if you're anything like me, I'm going to go get that book, because Fernanda's just a wealth of information. So thank you so much. You have a great day.
Yes, thank you, Kim. I appreciate it.